Hey y'all, this is Lauren Akins and welcome to season 3 of the Live and Love podcast. I am so happy to be back with y'all and I'm so happy that y'all are loving it as much as we are. It has been so much fun. This season of the podcast, we are sharing conversations all about parenting. I'm a mom of 4 girls and the big focus in my life right now is parenting. So I'm taking time to sit down with fellow parents, parenting experts, and my village of family and friends that help me raise my girls to talk about what it looks like to live in love while parenting.
And I'm Annie F. Downs, and I'm raising no girls, but I'm raising all my friends' kids with them. So today's episode is really important to me, talking about the ways that we can all work together to parent the kids that we love. I'm so excited about this whole season of shows with Lauren. It is so fun. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that. You do not want to miss the rest of this season. We have loved it so much. And if you're new to the show, welcome. We are so glad you're here. There's a whole bunch of season 1 and season 2 episodes. Don't miss any of those. They are all so helpful and really fun. And Lauren's New York Times bestseller, Live in Love, is available for you wherever you love to buy books. It is a great read for your summer, so make sure you grab a copy.
So on today's episode of the Live in Love podcast, I get to sit down with my best girls, Grace Hackett and Lindsey Marlin, to talk about what it looks like to live in love while raising kids with your village.
Oh, it's just the best. And we are so lucky that those of us that have kids, those of us that don't have kids can work together to help lead the next generation. I'm excited for this conversation.
Hey friends, I am so excited to share another one of our sponsors of this season of the Live in Love podcast, Able Clothing. Able is one of my favorite brands and is a brand that's moving fashion forward with their mission to create go-to wardrobe pieces that empower both the women who wear them and the women who make them. Able offers thoughtfully designed apparel, denim, shoes, leather bags, and handmade jewelry that you can feel good in and feel good about. Each piece is manufactured in the communities Able wishes to impact, including their own neighborhood in Nashville, Tennessee, as well as the world around. No matter what stage of life you're in, Able's here for you, serving you with quality and comfortable styles that make you look and feel your best. Able is devoted to quality, both in the products they make and in the quality of life they aim to provide for their workers. Women comprise more than 90% of the staff at Able, and Able has seen firsthand how providing women with safe and dignified jobs has the power to change not only their families, but entire communities. I'm so happy to share that Live in Love listeners get a unique discount code for Able, which gives you 15% off your purchase on ableclothing.com. Simply use the code LIVEINLOVE15 at checkout. Every purchase provides an opportunity for change.
Okay, Lauren, we're back.
We're back.
Welcome back to another episode. This one's so fun. Tell us about your friends that are with us today that all of our friends listening have already met before.
Okay, so I have with us today Grace, who y'all have met before, and Lindsey, who you've also met before. Grace did the Living in Love in Community, and Lindsey did Living in Love in Friendship.
Yeah.
And so Lindsey is one of my she is my lifelong best friend since we were little. And so we do a lot of life together as a family and outside of that. Just
I was going to say, as a family, talk about that, Lindsey. I mean, is this family to you or is this friends?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I was just telling her, soon to be sister-in-law, her birthday was yesterday. And I was like, I'm just so happy that you're going to be in the family. 'Cause like that just means I get to have you forever too.
Yeah.
And I mean, just kind of naturally, even your siblings, everyone's just, now they're my siblings. Like all of her siblings were just, Macy, Grayson. Yeah.
And as we're having this conversation, Lindsey, do you have any of your own kids adopted or birthed or anything?
I do not.
Okay.
No. So I have fully taken in all of Thomas, Rhett, and Lauren's kiddos since birth. I've been around with them and seen all of them growing up.
She was there for Lennon coming into the world.
Yes, I was.
Like in the room?
Yeah, she was.
Yes, I was in the room for Lennon. And that was right before I know COVID hit, and so I didn't get a chance to go for Lily. I'm sure you were grateful for.
It was actually
kind
of nice people to have a change of pace, just me and TR in the room.
Yeah, but so I've gotten to witness in my head thinking I can't picture Lauren as a mom. I just picture her as a wife with Thomas Rhett. To like I can't even picture you without kids anymore. You know, it's kind of wild. So
Grace, when you and Lauren became friends, how many kids did she have?
0.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've watched that transition too, that like wife friend to wife mom friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how many kids do you have?
I have one baby, and he's 9 months old.
So you've kind of gotten to be on both sides of this, of the friend who is in other people's families and now the mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And momming alongside another mom.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
Yeah. Talk about, Lauren, this matters to you that you and TR are not the only people raising your children.
Right. I mean, I feel like we talk about it a lot. So Grace and I are actually in a couples small group. And
The Monday night group.
The Monday night group. And there are 6 couples, and now all 6 couples have kids.
Mm-hmm.
But that just changed over this past year. 3 of the couples did not have kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so
It's a
now
flourishing.
all 6 couples have kids. And we actually took a trip in March and all stayed in one beach house together there were actually 11 of us because Ben was out of town, but 11 adults and 12 kids.
I think that's right.
Willa Gray was the oldest. So
Yeah.
Oh, my
7.
gosh.
Also,
7 and under.
Davey and I, we thought, we haven't taken a trip just us with crew, our son, yet. So we're thinking we're going to go down to the beach. At this point, we didn't know anybody going down. So we booked this little 500 square foot, townhome, I guess, in Rosemary Beach.
Yeah.
And we're thinking, it's just the 3 of us. 500 square feet is plenty. And we get down there. At the last minute, Lauren ended up deciding to come and then texted our small group and was like, hey, if anybody wants to come to the beach, I think it was the next week.
Literally the week before.
Oh my gosh.
Let me know. And I think probably you probably kind of thought maybe a couple people will be able to come, but every
Everybody.
family ended up having at least one person representing them coming down. And when we got down there, I realized how difficult it is to beach without baby things.
Oh, wow.
Because we didn't pack up all of our baby
Right.
stuff and take it down. And we were in our little town home for, a day. And I was dying because their house just has so much kid stuff. So speaking of parenting together, I was like, I really want to go back to the Akins because it has everything you could need for a baby. But, there's so much emotional support that comes with parenting with other people. But there's also a lot of physical support
Toy
when you're
support.
doing
For sure.
with other people with
I
kids.
was telling somebody, they were like, how did y'all do that? And I said, honestly, it was so much fun because I feel like we all parent a little differently, but for the most part, we're kind of all on the same page.
Yeah.
And so everybody kind of had similar expectations of how the kids behave, what they're allowed to do, when, all the things. And so, Rex would have the older ones outside riding bikes, and Thomas Rhett and Davey would have the babies in a corner playing with something, and then we'd be fixing drinks or something in the kitchen with
Right.
the toddlers. And
There were there was a little, what's that, activity center,
Yeah.
a little bumbo chair and a high chair that the 5 babies just
Oh my
stayed in
gosh.
rotation through. It was comical.
Did y'all-
Also, the stomach bug swept our house.
No.
So everybody, it started with the kids. And we got home and we were like, this must just be a kid thing. It knocked all our kids out. And then we got here and it wreaked havoc on the adults. I did not get sick, but Davey did. And Davey was violently ill. It was
same.
So was
You were
Lauren.
too?
It was so
So
bad.
was Thomas Rhett. Kind of.
my
So it was really
gosh.
bad. Yeah, I got it way worse, but it was thankfully we got it kind of off. I had it first, and then as I was recovering, he kind of went down. So we were able to stagger when we came home. But we rode the bus home. Just something for everyone to imagine.
Oh, no.
We rode the bus home. My sister. So terrible. Just imagine having the worst stomach virus on the planet, stuck on a bus all night long, which the stomach virus doesn't care that it's the middle of the
No.
night. It's going to happen no matter what time it is. And we've got this little tiny bathroom that we're in and out of. Me, the kids,
And multiple
Macy.
people are sick.
Oh gosh, and the bus, moves and stuff. It was
Oh.
really something.
Did you say the next day Thomas Rhett hadn't gotten it yet? And he was like, I didn't even know y'all woke up. Y'all were like, it must be nice. Just slept right through it.
Golly, we can laugh about it
Uh-huh.
now, but whew, in the moment,
it was really
Well, I felt like it lasted another 2 weeks after y'all got home because here I was trying to see people, and they're like, "No, he hasn't gotten it yet, but it's gonna happen." Like,
don't worry, it's coming.
So
yeah, actually, Lindsey, let's talk about that because you and I are kind of in the same boat about that. Of we don't wake up in the house with children. So if we're going to see our friends' kids, how often do you feel like in this village life, how often are you texting and saying, can I come over? How often are you getting invited over? What is there a balance? Are you always the one who's able to think of it and send the text?
It's a good question.
Thank you.
I think I often, first of all, I know how crazy busy their schedule is, and Find My Friends does help.
Yeah, that's
true.
Is she at home? Oh, she's not even in America. Let's see where she's at. But if I know I have a light week, I work from home, so I have a pretty flexible schedule. Sometimes I will try to get over there for a few days altogether and just kind of wipe out, a few weeks of me being absent. And so I will text Lauren, but I will say, I think it was a few years ago when the kids I think they got RSV one fall, and I got it as an adult, and I was down for like 3 weeks, and I thought, never again will I go over there without checking on the health of the babies. So lucky us waking up and not having kiddos. You guys can't do that. If your kids are sick, you're going to probably get it.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's something I do think about now because, they're so social, so they're bound to get something.
Yeah.
They do. So
Grace, who is in your life walking with y'all and your new baby? Like what friends like Lindsey or Lauren, like who is stepping in that you're going, oh my gosh, this may be what I was and am to Lauren's kids?
Yeah. So my sister's D group leader is actually a recent friend. But she has been someone who, I work for Love One full time, and I'm full-time flex, so I can work from home. But on Mondays we go into the office, and she's 33 and single. No kids, and she comes every Monday and helps with crew.
Wow.
And it is such a gift, and she's so precious. And I think now being a parent, I do feel like I always want to be intentional with who I surround my kids with and who is with them consistently, because those are the people that are pouring into them. And she has become someone who's a friend, who is trusted, who I feel like I can trust crew with. As a person, like responsibility-wise, but also spiritually. He's so young now, but I don't feel like it's ever too early to start being intentional about that,
Yep.
I mean, one of my best pals is 11 years old, and I was friends with him when he was born. I mean, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Like, something happens when they're tiny, and they trust you and think of you just like another adult that loves them.
Right. Yeah. I also feel like, Jessica Clark.
Yeah.
She is long distance friend because she's in Denver. Like, when I think of my friends, one of my best lifelong friends lives in another state, and she has a baby. We had babies at the same time, like 3 weeks apart, 2 boys, and we've been friends since we were 5. So that was a really sweet season. But then I also have Jessica, who's a long distance friend because Caitlin's a new friend. But when I think of, like, Jessica is like an aunt, will be to crew.
Yeah.
Even though it's long distance. Like, he'll always grow up knowing her. She'll always grow up visiting. I mean, Lord willing, they move here one day.
Yeah, I hope so.
I think I said Jessica Clark Higgins, but
yes.
Yeah, she's another one. So I think even long distance friendship, even if you're not doing daily life with people's kids, I think sometimes, I don't know if there are people listening who maybe find themselves long distance and think, I want to have a relationship with my friends' kids, but they're far away. But to me, just because maybe right now when he's young, he won't know, but I think like that friendship is so important to me, and I know that my kids, no matter where she lives, or my friend MC who has a kid, like they'll always grow up knowing them too, So I think there are ways that you can be intentional and love your friends' kids from afar too, especially as they get older and can have an understanding, like calling them or FaceTiming them on the first day of school.
Oh man, FaceTime.
Yeah,
I don't know how people did it before FaceTime.
Yeah,
sending cookies on their birthday.
Yes. There's a game called Tinsy. And I play it, and one of my little 10-year-old friends in Colorado, we just get on FaceTime, and we use the same cards.
Stop.
And so we play against each other over FaceTime.
That's so cute.
It's so fun. I love
so
Tinsy.
sweet.
Brought to you by Tinsy today.
So sweet.
Lauren, one of the risks, and Grace, this is true for you too, and different for Lindsey and I, but one of the risks is you bring a friend in, you bring Lindsey in, and she loves your kids, and then y'all have a thing. or you and I have a falling out. And now this person that loves your children isn't in their life anymore. Or it's someone who works with Thomas Rhett and now they don't work with Thomas Rhett anymore. And you have to parent your kids through an adult not in their life anymore. Is that a risk you think about when families and when village life is happening?
Yes, for sure. But I feel like even when life has brought circumstances that feel really hard to navigate, well, so far, there's not anyone in my life that it's like a no-fly zone.
Yeah.
You know, like even if there have been those moments of disagreement or whatever you want to call it, there may have been that moment where you needed to like process some things and figure some things out. But at least in my thinking personally, it's not an option for you to not be in my life. So we're just going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I'm sure there are circumstances where that maybe is not the case. But so far, I feel like I have been blessed enough to have the people who have come into my life. No one has gotten close to my kids and just not been around anymore. But I mean, yeah, I'm sure. Or even just not even having a falling out, but like my grandmother is 91 years old, about to be. And, you know, she's 91.
Yeah.
And so, like, she talks a lot about, like, she'll always say, well, when I go home to glory, and I'm like, Mimi, it is not time for you to go just yet. And she's like, well, you know, but she's getting to that point in her life where she's like, I'm 91 years old. I am not always going to be here. And having that conversation with my kids, you know, when we pray at night, sometimes she just specifically is on my heart, and I don't know what for, but I'll just start praying for Mimi and praying for her body and for peace and for when that time comes that all of our hearts are prepared and that she's ready to go. And so that opened up that conversation with my kids, and they're both, my older two were sleeping together at the time, and I got done praying, and they both have just tears rolling down. They're like, is Mimi dying? And I'm like, well, no, but we're all going to at some point, and Mommy's just praying that everyone's ready and can celebrate her going on to be with God for forever when that time comes. But there are those hard conversations that you have to have with your kids, but it is worth that risk because like watching them with Grace and Crew and Davy and my family, and watching them with Lindsey and growing up as those names in our house being common names that, you know, after Lindsey spent the night a couple of weeks ago, she brought donuts over and Lennon came down the stairs and Lindsey had already left for work or something, and Lennon asked if she could have another donut, and then in her mind she turned around thinking Lindsey was going to be sitting there eating her donut, drinking her coffee, and she looked at me and she goes, oh, well, where's Lindsey? I said, well, baby, she had to leave. And it was just like so defeating, and she it was so sad that Lindsey was gone, that like as sad as she was that Lindsey was gone, my heart just was so full knowing that she loves her so much that when she is gone, Lennon feels that she's gone, you know, and you have those moments of like, oh, I'm going to miss you. It's so sad. But if you love someone well enough and hard enough, then you're always going to have those moments that when you're apart or...
I would have turned around had you told me that.
Right? Me too, Lindsey. Last year at Christmas, I was with a family here that are like my Lauren and TR here. And I've been playing for a couple of hours. And the youngest son said, Annie, when do you have to go to work? You always have to go to work. And I was like, do you think I'm Scrooge? I'm not working on Christmas. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're just so used to me like coming over for a little while and then having to go to work that they were like, you're still here?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I feel like Ebenezer Scrooge.
Oh, but then it makes your heart so happy to know that
totally.
it just brings them so much joy to get to be with you.
Totally.
So
yeah. Lindsey, talk from your perspective of, is there risk for you in stepping into these families' lives and in loving their kids? And where does that fall in the like, is this worth risking my heart for.
Yeah, I have never once ever had to think about that with the Gregory/Akins family, of course, because, you know, it didn't start when you had kids. So, you know, we already had such a solid friendship. So that's, for them, it's never crossed my mind. I think for myself, I think when it comes to prioritizing people in your life and friends, at this point in time, I wouldn't want to get or spend the effort or be super intentional getting to know families that I know I wouldn't be a part of their life long term, or you couldn't see a future with them, I guess you can say. So I've been lucky enough, I think, in my adult life to have the same closest friends since nearly high school, literally.
Yeah.
So every now and then you get those few new friends that surprise you and pop up and are just kind of gems that have come around. But, you know, it's really not something I've had to think about because I think I'm already good at being intentional about, okay, who do I want to spend my energy on? And is it worth it? And, you know, is it going to be reciprocated? Things like that.
Yeah. Grace, talk about Caitlin. Yeah, is that what you said her name is?
Yeah.
So talk about Caitlin for a minute. She's just an example. We don't have to I don't want us to so about Caitlin. But she is a new friend that you've let in and that you're trusting with Crew when you have a pretty established village and a very large nuclear family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why was this a yes? Give to our friends that are listening that aren't married yet. Why was it a yes to you to be like, no, come into our family and be a part of this with Crew and with us?
Yeah. I think because she had experience, she was my sister's or is my sister's D group leader. I kind of knew her, and kind of going back to what I said, just about the way I knew she would pour into Crew.
Yeah.
I just trust her. And I would say this about any of my friends. I think when you're dealing with friends' kids, I know that even in discipline, that I feel, he's too young to discipline right now. He's 9 months old. But as he gets older, and I was thinking a few minutes ago, with your girls, Lauren, if one of them asks me for something and I hand it to them and they don't say thank you, I'll say, what do you say?
Oh, totally.
Because I know that's what you would do. You know what I mean? Or that's what you would want.
Yes.
And that's the kind of people that I want my kids to grow up around too.
Yeah.
I always want my closest friends, who I feel align with me in the way that I want to parent, to feel comfortable to say, that wasn't kind. Mm-hmm. You need to go apologize to that person, or to discipline. I know obviously there's a line,
right,
for sure.
But I'm not gonna be a spanking for you.
Right.
But just loving correction, and feeling comfortable enough to do that is important to me. Mm-hmm. And so I think I just saw all those things in her, and a willingness to be that person. Obviously, without the discipline right now because he's a baby.
Yeah.
Although he did fall this morning and hit his head on his activity center. He falls seriously all the time. He's such a boy. He's just into everything. I'll hold him. Anyways, whacked his head and almost gave himself a black eye.
No.
And I try to hover over him, but then he's just moving all the time.
Yeah.
He has a bruise up the side of his cheek. It's so sad.
Little angel.
I know.
He's so
Anyways, to answer your question, I just think that she was someone that I felt I could trust.
Yeah.
In being around.
Yeah.
And this is true for all of us, but I'd be interested, Lauren, for you to kind of jump off this conversation of one of the things y'all have done is adopted Lindsey into your family,
Mm-hmm.
And y'all are in your group of friends, y'all really make each other family, but you also have adopted kids in both of your families, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, and Lindsey, I don't have adopted kids in my family,
No.
but in close to me, I do, but not in my family. And so talk about that. Talk about why that matters. Why does it matter that adults get adopted in and kids get adopted in?
Because I think love obviously transcends all of that. Just because someone wasn't born into your family doesn't mean that they aren't your family. Mm-hmm. And I feel just the more and more that my girls see that lived out around them it's so healthy for them to see it acted out, and I know it's spoken to them and they hear it, but letting them see it and witness it in real life and it be a good thing and a healthy thing and a fun thing is so good for them to see. And they can see for themselves that it does feel good and it is fun and it brings so much life, bringing people into your family. And, I obviously am more sensitive to it because we have adopted. So I'm always trying to bring that subject up of like, oh yeah, Lindsey is, we never call her Aunt Lindsey, but I think they just see her that way because she's just, they've never known life without her. And so it's cool to have those conversations of like, yeah, Lindsey is mommy's sister, just not born of Stevie and Bunny. And them seeing that is so good for them. And then when you go back to adoption, we have those conversations too of like, so when I was in your tummy, blah, 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 but Willa Gray wasn't in your tummy. I mean, like have like them processing. They're like, no, she wasn't in my tummy. And Ada James is like, and she was in Africa. I'm like, yep, she was in Africa. And the other day she goes, it's not fair. I want to be from Africa. I was like, well, God didn't choose that for you, honey. I'm sorry you didn't take that up with him. But it's so fun to like watch my little ones, to see them see it from a place that is good and joyful and chosen, like the chosen way of life that we live.
That's a beautiful
is so
thing to say.
Powerful for me to see and have in my life, but also just to watch them embrace it and love it is so sweet. And just the innocence of kids. Oh man, I wish you could just bottle it up and give it to everybody because they see it from such a precious light, as everything is just a gift. And that's really sweet too.
I was going to add it's getting to be a really fun age with AJ, who's almost 6, and Willa Gray, who's almost 8. I was over at the house a few weeks ago, and I think they're picking up on now, Lindsey comes over a lot, but it's always just her. Like, where's her family?
Yeah.
AJ's like, who's your husband? And I was like, well, when you find him, just let me know, honey, And so I think things are like starting to click, and they're like, where does Lindsey go when she goes home? Where's your home? Just all over the place. So that's also fun too, is as they get older, they're getting so much wiser. And the questions they ask, it's like, oh, I didn't think about them asking these for a couple more years, Lauren. What have you been telling them?
Yeah.
So those are fun.
And listening to y'all talk.
Yes.
And hearing y'all's conversations.
They hear it all.
Yeah.
They sure do.
Yeah.
Willa Gray is one sharp.
Yeah. Yeah. She sure is.
Whew.
Okay, dog moms and dog dads, the sponsor is just for you. So with 2 of my own sweet puppies at home to take care of, I want to make sure I'm feeding them the best quality food. So I am happy to share about Sundays for Dogs. Sundays is air-dried dog food made from a short list of human-grade ingredients and was co-founded by Dr. Tori, a practicing veterinarian. Sundays contains 90% meat, 10% vegetables, and 0% synthetic nutrients. Besides USDA beef and all-natural chicken, you'll find digestive aids like pumpkin and ginger, plus disease-fighting antioxidants. Your dog is going to love Sundays, and you'll feel so good knowing you're feeding your dog the best quality food. Unlike other fresh dog food, Sundays is 0 prep, 0 mess, and 0 stress. It's shelf stable, so it lasts, and every order ships right to your door, so you'll never have to worry about running out of dog food again. And bonus, Sundays for Dogs cost 40% less than other healthy dog food brands because they don't waste money shipping frozen packages. Instead, they spend on what matters, sourcing the best all-natural ingredients for your pup. We worked out a special deal for our dog-loving listeners, so get 35% off your first order of Sundays. Go to sundaysfordogs.com/liveandlove or use code LIVEANDLOVE at checkout. That's sundaysfordogs.com/liveandlove. Upgrade your pup to Sundays and feel good about the food you feed your dog. Another sponsor you know I can't stop talking about is Cru. I love that we get to work with partners like Cru and help forward their mission of making the Bible accessible to as many families as they can. It's really crazy to me that something I just cannot live without is something that people just still don't have access to, a Bible, or even allowed to have one. That is a reality that many people around the world are facing today. Cru's missionaries are in almost every country on earth, and they are seeing people come to know Jesus. But there is one thing they're missing, a Bible in their own language. We continue to just have so many of our Live and Love listeners support Cru, and can I just tell you that I'm so thankful we get to support them in filling that need. But as one missionary said, we found so many people reading their Bibles. Please continue praying for us. We still need more Bibles to distribute. So can I ask y'all to please join me in helping meet that need? So for only $21 a month, you can provide 3 people with Bibles each and every month. When you sign up to provide 3 Bibles with a monthly gift of $21, as a thank you, Cru will provide meals to 15 hungry individuals through their humanitarian aid ministry. Plus, you'll receive a free copy of my book, Live and Love. Simply text Akins to 71326 to help today. Imagine just how much this gift could change someone's life. So text Akins to 71326. That's AKINS to 71326 to help now, or visit give.cru.org/Akins. Message and data rates may apply. Available to U.S. addresses only.
Grace, there was a season when you and Davey didn't have kids and wanted kids.
Yeah.
And you're still living in a village life.
Mm-hmm.
You're still helping raise other people's kids in your small group. Half your small group has kids, half of them don't.
Yeah.
There are so many of our friends listening who want to be moms to more kids, and they are surrounded by moms who seem to have what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And they love those kids, and they want to be in their lives, but they
Right.
also are wanting what they don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How did you balance loving Lauren's kids and loving the other kids in your life while still really desiring your own?
Yeah. I think that's such a good question. And I know so many people are in that same situation because we tried for 11 months before we got pregnant. And we actually,
That's a long time.
we were the first, which compared to some people, it's
Sure.
not, but compared to others, for us, it felt like a long time.
Yes.
Mhm.
But I remember we started trying before anybody else in our small group started trying for the round of kids that just happened. So we were trying starting in November. Lauren found out she was accidentally pregnant in March.
Best accident of my entire life.
That's right.
And then I think in the months after that, 3 of the other girls found out in, I can't remember the timing,
Wow.
maybe like June and July or something.
So y'all are waiting, and
Yeah.
everybody
Yes.
else is
It
getting
was
what
like
you
boom,
want.
boom, boom. And as a friend, I
Yeah.
felt that for her every time. You know, you're so joyful, and then you're also like, oh, my heart.
Well,
Yeah.
and the small group wants to tell you all first, too.
Right.
So-
Yeah. And it is such a balance because like I truly was so excited, and I think it is just you have to be so mentally aware of like the spiritual warfare that's happening on your mind and on your heart when that happens, because if you're not aware of it and calling it out and praying over it, I think it would be so easy to succumb to that and fall into feelings of like jealousy or bitterness. But truly, like, I just tried to be so prayerful through all of it. And something that I actually heard, I think it was on church at church on Sunday, maybe, that it made me think back to that season of my life, was something along the lines of, like, just because God is blessing other people with whatever that thing is, doesn't mean that it's not like he has a limited amount that he's pouring out on them, and then there's not going to be any left for you. And so I just thought back and I thought, I think sometimes in those moments it can feel like, well, everyone else is getting what they're wanting. Where's mine? Like, is there anything for me? And what God is pouring out on those people is not, it's an endless supply, you know? So it's just not your time. And I think when we did find out we were pregnant, it made that so much sweeter because we had waited so long for it, that it was like hard to believe that it actually happened.
Yeah.
So it's hard, but I think you just have to choose to keep celebrating your friends and keep celebrating people. Because at the end of the day, even when your heart's torn, like, that's what God tells us to do, is just to love other people and celebrate them well. And so I think even if you can't come up with it on your own, like that's why he gives us the Holy Spirit, to have that grace and that joy. Like the fruits of the Spirit are joy and patience and peace, which I needed so much of all of those in the waiting. Sometimes I needed him to pour out his joy into me so that I could have it for other people, you know? And so I also think it's nothing to be ashamed of if you can't come up with it on your own, but like you have access to that through the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And I really feel like that's how I got through it. Also, if you're trying to get pregnant and you can't, you should look up pre-seed.
Pre-seed?
Yeah. I'm not going to go into the details of how it
Shameless
works,
plug.
but
I've actually
great.
told 3 people about it because of her.
Okay,
I posted on my Instagram. I've gotten hundreds of messages from people saying that we got pregnant the first month using it after 11 months of trying. So
will you put it in a category? Is it a book? Is it a technique? Is it a pill?
It's an action that you can do.
It's an action. Okay. It's
well,
a technique.
no, it's not a technique. It's a.
You're like, no, it's not during
I mean,
sex, Annie.
it's something
Quit
you
asking.
a precursor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something you do before.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
To give you a
Great.
little.
I feel like I
extra
get really into
something.
the weeds. I'm not going to do that.
Great,
but if
yeah.
you Google pre-seed,
find it.
Our friends tried for 3 years and they told us about it, which actually also, this is just a side little story, but we met these friends on our honeymoon and we've kept up with them since. And they FaceTimed us to tell us that they were pregnant after 3 years of trying. And they told us about pre-seed. And so then that was like our 10th month of trying.
Wow.
They didn't even know, I don't think, that we were trying. And we used it the next month and got pregnant. And I started thinking, that's such a cool little dot that God connected, because if we had not met them on our honeymoon,
Yes.
they wouldn't have FaceTimed us at that time. We wouldn't have found out about it. And maybe we would have found out about it from somebody else at another point, but then Crew wouldn't be our baby because we wouldn't have gotten pregnant that much.
That's right.
You
The
know what I
Lord,
mean?
yeah.
And I love Crew.
Lined it up. And I love Chris.
We're
Great.
so glad.
I'm so glad he's the one.
Lindsey, talk about that for your life too. I mean, you're in family with Lauren and TR, but you don't have everything you want.
Right.
So what is that like for you?
Yeah. And thinking and talking about my own kids is what you mean.
Yeah.
Things like that. You know, for me, I think in my head, I'm like, I want to be able to find a husband first. I want to be able to picture someone that I can have kids with. And since that's something that has yet to, just isn't meant to be as of yet, you know, I don't really jump to that step yet in my head. Could it be in my future? Maybe. But since I can't picture that person I would want to have kids with, it's really hard to picture what that would look like as of yet. So I am truly just trying to stay in the moment, in the present with all of my friends' kiddos for now. The majority of my best friends all have kids at this point. And Willow Gray being the oldest, all the way to, you know, some under, probably Everett might be the youngest one of
sisters,
everyone.
boy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I try to live in the now and think, you know, let's one step at a time. Let's not, you know, if it's meant to be, it's meant to me. But I want to be able to find someone that I can parent with first.
Yeah.
So,
Lauren, talk about being on the side of it of 4 kids and you've got your friends around you who are loving on your kids or let's go back up to when you had 3 and then you get pregnant and you know that there are other friends like Lindsey in your life and other friends that are how do you love your village well when you're the mom who does have the kids? Nobody has everything they want, but you're the mom who has the kids and you're like, oh gosh, I've got to tell them I'm pregnant again.
I know we talked about this already in podcasting, but talk about guilt. Because when I found out I was pregnant with Lily, and even back up, well, I had 3 girls already.
Yeah.
And so when I got pregnant with Lily, it was like, oh, maybe God is giving me the boy that we haven't had yet. And just finding out I was pregnant when I feel like that was not the speed I was ready to go at that point in my life, and feeling like I do have friends who want the things that are now just happening to me, which is not just happening. Like, obviously, the Lord planned it perfectly the way that he did, as he always does. But in that moment, it felt like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And I'm thinking like, okay, I don't know that there's enough of me to go around. Like, I'm so tired right now. I feel like we just now caught our breath with Willa Gray, Ada, James, and Lennon. And so your mind starts going in this, like, definitely did not initially have just a grateful heart.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm being really honest.
Of course, yeah.
And that's where I started to feel guilty, because the second I had those feelings, it was like, how dare you have those feelings when people that you are doing life with would give anything to have that. And so you wrestle with this, and all of it's true. All of it's real. I mean, the feelings of me feeling like, I don't know if I can do this, that is real. And it's okay to feel like, how am I going to do this? But then also it's real is like holding your friends' hearts and knowing that what their deepest desires are. But truly having friends that I feel like you are able to look in the eyes and for them to know you and to love you and to know that things that come out of your mouth are not to hurt them, then you truly can come to a place of like, when I told Grace, it was kind of a joke at that point. Not a joke. I mean, Lily is not a joke, but like, it was kind of like you're never going to believe what happened, because I had kind of like settled at that point after crying for a little bit. But obviously that is back in my mind and in my heart of like, oh, okay, I know that she desires this, but I also know that she loves me and she knows how overwhelmed I feel in life already. And I know that there is a place for me in her heart that she can support those feelings of me feeling the way that I do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, although Grace wants this now, she also loves me and knows that although the thing that I am going through now is actually what she wants in life, but she also loves me enough to know that as bad as she wants that, she can have sympathy. Empathy?
Maybe both.
Yeah, sure. Some of both.
With me in knowing that, oh, this it does feel hard for Lauren right now, and I'm going to love her well through that, as well as I still am hoping for that. And so as I feel like that is just so much like layer upon layer of emotions and feelings, but true friendship, I think, can hold both spaces in one. Yeah. And you feel like you're able to say, although I know that she wants that, or I know that Lindsey wants that, I'm still able to come to them and say, I know that you want this, and it's happening to me right now, and I don't feel okay with it right now, and I need a friend. Yeah. And then once they love me through that, then I'm right back to loving them through their desires that haven't happened yet. Yeah. But it's hard. That's a hard place to navigate, because that is vulnerability. And also really trusting your people that they truly love you enough to see your heart in it, and that you're not ungrateful. You're just going through humanness and feeling what you feel, and knowing that, you know, we love each other enough to be able to have those honest conversations. Yeah. Did that make sense? I feel like
of course. Yeah. Very passionate. Sense. That was great.
Yeah.
What do you remember about when she told you?
Well, we were in Telluride. And she started throwing up, and everybody was
like, well, she was throwing up, so
everybody was like,
Well, people kept saying, I think it might be sun poisoning from the sun reflecting off the snow, somehow creeping through your snow goggles.
My
and
cheeks were red from skiing.
Yeah.
I was like, well, it's just really on like a 20th of my body.
Right.
I don't know that sun poisoning can happen that way.
Yeah, so we actually... You or Thomas texted me on our way to the airport and said, can you ask the driver to bring back a pregnancy test?
Oh, wow.
So I was like sitting on pins and needles waiting to find out. And honestly, yours was the easiest for me to navigate emotionally. I think, one, because it was like the closest to when we started trying. Two, because I remember when we first started talking about trying to get pregnant, being like, well, I don't want to get pregnant in this month because then I'm going to have, like, we have this huge event that's one of the biggest things that I'm responsible for in my job, and it is in September. So I'm thinking, if we get pregnant in March, I'm having a baby.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just remember the timing of March for whatever reason. I think because of our event or something. I was like, that wouldn't have been great. So there was a bunch of things I think that was like kind of a perfect storm, and it was just it was only a few months into trying, which is so funny looking back now that I tried to plan it at all, because it took us 11 months. You know what I mean? I think I was thinking like, we'll get pregnant month 1 or 2, maybe 3.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like when you told me, there was nothing in my heart that felt like, God, how could she be crying or upset right now? Like that, truly the thought didn't cross my mind. And I think that is because I know your heart and I know where you're coming from, and everything that you felt was valid. And I thought if I had 3 kids and I found that out, I would probably feel the same thing. So it's exactly what you said. I think in true friendships, you can hold space for both. And it was just both in that situation.
And let me just be clear about Lily. I don't want her to grow up and hear this one day.
She's the best.
She's the best.
I look at her daily and say out loud, I cannot believe I almost missed you. Like, I cannot believe I almost missed her. So it just further affirms that the Lord just knows exactly what you need when you need it. Yeah. And it felt like my world was coming down on top of me. And really, he was giving me the greatest gift in the world. Yeah. Shout out to Lily. I love you so much.
And Lennon's little bestie.
That's right.
Everybody needs a pair.
That's right. Hey, y'all. It has been so fun to partner with Modern Fertility for this season of the Live and Love podcast, all about parenting. The traditional guidance with fertility has been just wait and see. But now we have tools to help us plan for and track everything in our lives: wellness, finances, careers, school. So why is fertility still a wait and see? That's why Modern Fertility was created. It's an easy and affordable way to test your fertility hormones at home with a simple finger prick. Mail it in with a prepaid label and you'll get your personalized results within 6 business days. You'll get insight into your hormone levels, like your ovarian reserve, aka if you have more or fewer eggs than average for your age, and other important factors that can impact your fertility. The results go deep into what every hormone means, and you can also download the results to review with your doctor for your next steps. Traditional hormone testing at a fertility clinic can cost over $600, but Modern Fertility tests the same general set of hormones for only $179. And I'm happy to share that if you go to modernfertility.com/liveandlove, you can get $20 off your first test. Plus, you can get reimbursed for the test through your FSA or HSA. If you want kids today or maybe one day in the future, clinically sound info about your body can help you make the decision that's right for you. Right now, Modern Fertility is offering our listeners $20 off the test when you go to modernfertility.com/liveandlove. That means your test will cost $159, which is a fraction of what it would cost at a fertility clinic. Get $20 off your fertility test when you go to modernfertility.com/liveandlove. modernfertility.com/liveandlove. So, do you ever find yourself so overwhelmed with all the things you just don't know where to start or how to prioritize? Me too. That's why I am so thrilled to introduce you to my friends over at Simplified. Simplified was founded by Emily Lay, a busy, overwhelmed mom who was simply looking for a tool to help her keep it all together. In a digital world where she was trying to handle all the things and dings and buzzes were constantly controlling where her attention was each day, she made a decision to do life a different way. Simplified is the only organizational, big picture planning brand to pair beautifully crafted products with curated expert knowledge to help you build a life you love, one day, one page, one plan at a time. Their mission is to equip, inspire, and empower women with tools and systems they need to simplify their lives. Their cornerstone product, the Simplified Planner, has changed the lives of hundreds of thousands of women around the world with its minimal and meaningful pages. Taking you from planning to progress, from overwhelmed to empowered, Simplified is your go-to to get things done. Plus, every order placed supports women and girls in need. Simplified is proud to support nonprofit organizations that equip, inspire, and empower women and girls surviving trafficking and domestic violence and overcoming poverty. They just launched their gorgeous 2023 collection of Simplified planners, plus a ton of other organizational tools and lifestyle products. Trust me, you're going to fall in love. To check out all the newness, head to emilylay.com and use my code LIVEANDLOVE for 15% off your first order. That's emilylay.com and enter code LIVEANDLOVE for 15% off your first order.
Lindsey, let's finish up with this. I'll ask all y'all this. What's a piece of advice you'd give to a a single woman, someone who doesn't have kids yet, of how to connect with families and how to get in village life?
For parenting specifically with kiddos?
Yeah.
I think, again, I'm content at the moment, especially getting to be auntie to all of these kids, all of my best friends and their kiddos. So I think just making sure you're being in the moment and not looking too far ahead at what's to come, because like Grace said, it took you guys almost a year to get pregnant. Some people, it just doesn't happen for them, and some people have a kid when they weren't expecting, like, hey, Lily, so I think just living in the moment and making sure that I'm present for all of the kids, Lauren's. I have a couple other girlfriends that are out of state, and I might not get to see them as often, and their kiddos. And also I think making sure that I'm always putting myself in the mom's shoes and realizing how hard it is to be a mom. It's something I wanted to mention. Like, that's another reason I think I am, and I have to be content at where I am right now, is because I know how tough it is. And often I will be doing just random things throughout the day, and I'll imagine. Could you imagine having?
Please tell what you text me on a regular basis.
Oh, the pictures and things like that.
Mm-hmm. This is good.
This is terrible.
No, it's great.
I'm a big reader, and I love getting cozy and reading a book. Shout out to Colleen Hoover. She's great right now. But I will be bundled up in my little blanket at home, candle lit, little soft music in the background playing, and I'll just take a picture of me and I'll send it to Lauren, and I'm like, I'm doing this for the next 2 hours. What are you doing?
In her defense, she'll tell me, I'm like, when she'll leave my house, I'm like, what are you going to go do tonight? And she's like, I don't know. I mean, the candle that you gave me not too long ago, I've still got a little bit left. I might go home and light that candle, sit in my chair and read a book. And I'm like, what? Like, what? Can you send me a picture? Can you do that? And so now every time she does it, she's like, guess what I'm doing right now? And I'm like, oh my gosh, how is it? Like, what are you reading? What candle are you smelling?
Yeah.
What music's in the background? I need to know.
And it's I wouldn't do it to like really make her upset. Obviously, it's kind of funny now, but I think, again, like I mentioned, like always putting myself in my friend's shoes, like whether it's sitting at home reading or like I'm making a Starbucks run and I'm bringing in 2 drinks and I'm like, I couldn't do this with even one kid. I think that'll bring some perspective, and then that's when I remember, holy cow, my friends need me. Whether it is just an hour, 30 minutes, taking Lennon and Lily out on the playground in the morning just so you and Thomas Rhett have a moment alone. And I think I'm pretty decent at doing that. And as long as you can put yourself in your mama's shoes, it's like, okay, I can give them this break, and that's why I'm here. And so that's what keeps me going, and I think continuing to be a good auntie, I guess. Yeah. Good aunt.
Yeah.
So sweet.
Yeah.
Grace, what are some thoughts you have for people in your shoes? New mom, there's people who want to be in your kids' lives. What's some advice you give people on how to build a village from the ground up a little bit?
Yeah, I think receiving help and saying yes to people and letting people in is huge. And that's something that Lauren specifically, but some of my other girlfriends too, preached to me before I had crew. Just saying, like, you have to receive help. And not that, like, Lindsey, when you go to her house, you're not always like, I'm going over to help. I'm going to babysit, but just presence is a help. And I didn't say this earlier, but we went to Uganda a couple weeks ago, and I left crew behind with Davey. And I tried to set him up every day with someone who could come in and help for a few hours so that he could go get work done. And one of my friends, Debbie, is older. She has 2 kids in high school and college. And she's someone who also loves my baby. So do our friends Lainey and Walker. And I think there's like kind of different camps of people. You have your friends who, like you guys who are younger, aren't married yet, don't have kids yet. And then you also have women who have kids that are older and grown. And so I think it's people in 2 different seasons. Like my older friends who have kids, one with 2 and one with 6, just long to be with a baby. And so it has taken me a while, but like I let Debbie, I was great with Debbie just coming over and keeping crew at my house one day. And of course, they're like, you cannot pay us. But it's hard for me to be like, well, you're coming to my house and hanging out with my kid. I feel like I need to do something for you.
Yeah.
But like, truly, I think, especially people in the older season, just find so much joy in being around babies. There was one night at the Hazes with the 6 kids are friends with, or they're neighbors with my parents at the lake. And there was one night that they kept crew for a whole night because I was so sleep deprived. And she kind of like texted me at 3 a.m. and was like, I'm not bringing him back over. I'm keeping him all night and you're getting a good night's sleep. Wow. And so I think it's like letting people in and saying yes and accepting help is huge. And then people who find themselves in a season of life without spouses, without kids, I do feel like a lot of times long for that. And so I think when you have kids, sometimes it's so easy to feel like I'm so busy, I can't make time for this or put in time for that. And something that I feel like the Lord is teaching me in this season of life is like my life is never going to slow down. I think for the past 9 months, I've been like, well, once I get through this, then it's going to slow down. And then once crew gets through this, cuts those teeth or starts doing this, then things will slow down a little bit. Or once I finish this for loved one. And I just feel like God's teaching me that it's just not going to slow down. So you have to do it busy and you have to make time for the people that are important. And I think people in y'all's season of life can minister to moms so much, but also babies and kids can minister to anybody, you know? So it really is a two-way street. Like y'all get, you guys get to enjoy them. And we also are so blessed by y'all's friendships.
It's really sweet. Y'all model a really beautiful thing. So I feel like it's really inviting to people to think that they could do this in their lives too.
Thanks, Annie.
Well done.
Thank y'all so much for being with us today. I hope that you will come and join us for the next episode of the Live in Love podcast when we have Lindsay Nobles and Kate Coleman sit down with us and talk about what it looks like to live in love while single parenting.